Well, let's use this design. It's a developing design, and take a look at the spline command. If I zoom in on it a little, this will become a path through here. You may be able to see that the join here, the path looks a little awkward, especially in this corner here. It's not a smooth, free-flowing boundary to the path. What I can do is I'll turn on now a def points layer. That's a layer traditionally used for a non-printing layer, and what I've done there is use the spline command rather than try and join those individual line segments together. I've used the spline command and drawn a line, and if we look along the line, it melds quite nicely and it's got a nice free flowing shape. But we can tweak the line a little bit. It's just a little bit awkward in this patch through here, and if I select a spline, you can see that the first point that I chose on the spline as I worked my way across to the right, that first point is quite some distance away. We can add a vertex, a new vertex to this one, and we can say we'll just move that vertex down here, and then maybe add another vertex and move that one up and move this one down a little, and now we've got more agreement between the original shape and the developing spline. I'd still be inclined to insert, say, another vertex here, and that gets me even closer to my desired shape. So if you use the spline command, we can now offset that, modify and offset. We can pick the spline and right click and click on through point, then click on distance, and I'll type, say, 612, which is an odd value, but we'll do for the moment, and then we just click like so. So we've offset the spline over that area. Now you notice that the spline hangs over, so again we can do the same. We can pick the spline, do things like move that end to that point there. We can add a vertex, move that point down. I could use those snaps for it, but can you see I'm matching quite nicely the shape that we want, and then I'll move this one to an end point like so. Again, you might wish to insert another vertex here and bring that one down along. Maybe one more vertex and bring it to that point there. And now I'm quite happy that we've got some nice curves with a constant width for that path running through there. So that's the spline command. The spline is in fact a polyline with curve fitting already applied as a fit spline. Well, it's always a good idea to include objects or entities, blocks if you like, in the design that gives a viewer a sense of scale, and the designer here has put a symbol for a vehicle. Notice though that the front part of the vehicle, you can actually see through it and see the hatching under it. I'd like to cover hatching in a moment, but as it stands, what we'd like to do is to add a little more opaqueness to that symbol to cover up the hatching in the driveway underneath. And the way to do that is to edit the block. I can pick, not that one, this one, a polyline. I'm going to say give it a fill, and then we'll close. So now the symbol for the vehicle has been beefed up, if you like, and covers the hatching underneath. We can still need to do a little more work on this SUV, but it works much better on a driveway like that. Well, just because gCADPlus can put lots of hatching into an area, it can very easily overpower what you see, and I think that's happened here in this driveway. So what I'm going to do is I'll just regen the drawing and I'll delete that hatch pattern. It's actually a custom hatch pattern and may well have come from another environment. This drawing has been through several hands before I got to it. So what I've done is draw some polylines there just to create two shapes, and we'll now return the color of that back to by layer and the line type by layer. And what we'll do now is hatch it with one of these standard patterns. Here's the ARB88 block in elevation. We're going to use it in this driveway pattern. So we can now modify and match the properties of it to, we need to hatch it first, don't we? Hatch, and there it is. Pick the entity. I could pick both of them at the same time, but if I do it in two stages, like so, and you can see I have drawing color red to show you what's happening. Now the scale here is incorrect, but I've got the scale correct over here. So I'll match the properties of that one to the red hatching that we've put in. We can do it again down the bottom there. So I'll repeat the hatch. We'll pick the entity. We'll hit enter and apply it. We've got much too dense hatching here. So again, match the properties of the hatching that we're happy with and do that. At this stage, let's get rid of that little panel that I was using to illustrate what's happening. And you may or may not want to erase the line that borders here, and we'll pick the vehicle and go to the tools and bring it to the front. So I think any casual observer will see now that the paving is going to extend over the length of the whole driveway, and the vehicle sits there giving the viewer a sense of scale. So we've covered there the polyline and a little more hatching and whatever, and I would then move on to work with that drawing. It's by no means a finished design, but I hope that helps cover a couple of issues when you're drafting